nice. That was a little bit of a sad way to start.
That's right. It's summertime. We needed some contrast.
Oh, man.
Everybody's happy outside doing stuff.
I feel like I need to mention, has it been hot where you guys are? Because holy crap, it's been hot here. I don't. You're from Texas,
It's a matter of
so it's like meh. But man, up here like near Vancouver, BC, we're used to like nice, temperate. What, like summers is like 28 degrees. It's a hot day, and it was like 36
That's like 85
yesterday.
for you guys. So.
Yeah. Oh, it was a nightmare. Anyways, welcome to another live Q&A session thingy.
Brought to you by the Electro-Harmonics / JHS Soul Food pedal. That's what you heard today. I only say that because it's rare that I play through an amp for these things. I'm playing through an amp today, and that's the only pedal that I'm using.
It sounded good.
In
the room, it sounded great. Just bites just a little bit.
Yeah, but it's really dynamic. Like,
yeah, big time. That's the one thing that the digital rigs are doing a really good job now of doing that. Like you'll hear like where they can go clean to compress, but the sound of like a real amp doing that,
especially
like
if it's
on
in the room with you.
Oh, baby, it is really nice.
And they're cheap too.
You're talking about like
the Soul Food.
Yeah. What is it like US?
Soul Food's like around $100, $120.
Yeah.
Something
It's like one of the best budget overdrives. It's not like going to give you distortion, but in place of like something like a tube screamer, if you're looking for something that's maybe not so bassless, it's a great option for sure. So just so you guys know, with these Q&A sessions, you guys who are members, who are watching, you guys can just submit questions in the questions box below. And did you say there was a PDF?
There is a PDF today because I want to go through one concept. I posted a video on the Nate Savage Facebook page last night. Actually, I think I posted it actually this morning.
Okay.
On like the best exercise I've come across to drill your keys and get to know your fretboard better as far as being able to go through chord progressions and triads on the guitar. It's the best one I've come across, but if you found a better one, I'd like to hear about it, just because I'm all about the efficiency as far as getting to learn my keys better. So I'll go through that once we get through some questions, if we have time. If not, go to Nate Savage Facebook and the whole video's there. It's pretty short. It's like 8 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So you guys can feel free to, like I said, do questions like that, or if you're in chat, you can put your questions in chat, and I will try and catch them, and when we run out of stuff to talk about, we'll end it. It'll be just pretty simple. And feel free to send in questions about anything, beginner, intermediate, advanced, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar. Every other subcategory of guitar is perfectly acceptable, or gear related or whatever. It's no big deal. We're happy to talk about it. It's always fun for us. So let's jump right into the first one we have in here.
El primero.
Was that Spanish?
Sí.
I took 1 semester of Spanish.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I remember very little.
2 years.
2 years of Spanish? Yeah. Is it an American thing?
Yeah, it's a Texas thing, like in the South.
Yeah.
If you're going to learn a foreign language, it's Spanish, right?
Because here we have to start with French, and then we had a choice. Anyways, first one here. Okay, this isn't quite a question, but this one is from Catman. It says, Nate, you mentioned last week that Arizona weather can be harsh. Well, try 120 degrees right now.
Nope. No thanks. My parents, last week it was 110 where they live, and it's not as dry as Arizona. It's kind of medium style because they live just outside of Austin.
Right.
But 120 degrees is stupid. That's like dashboard cookies where you just go make your batter, put it on the tray, and then go throw it on your dashboard and let it cook.
Is that actually a thing?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
I could not imagine being out in that heat.
Nasty.
Keep your guitars safe. Holy cow.
No
okay. We'll grab the next one in here.
Next.
This one is from John P. Murphy. Years ago, I heard about hammer-ons and hammer-offs, not pull-offs. Are the H-offs a recognized or valid technique?
Yeah, for sure. My favorite electric guitar player, and I say this all the time, is Brett Garcid, and he has like a medium-sized hands there. I think they're a little bit smaller than mine from what I know watching his videos and stuff. So he doesn't like to leave his fingers planted when he's doing hammer-ons and pull-offs, right? Yeah. So he's letting off and timing. I can't do it very well because I never practiced it, but hammer off is something like that. Or you can do it on an adjacent string too. One of my other favorite guitar players, Greg Howell, will take, I can't do it very well either because I just don't work on it. But, so he doesn't have to worry about picking as much, but he does like that kind of stuff a lot.
Oh, it does. It sounds very distinct when you do it like that.
Yeah, and that's the two ways that I know to apply hammer offs.
I honestly didn't know it was a separate technique that it's being referred to.
That's the best I can do it. But it's the best thing about it is like if you're doing it to a scale like this. My hand is always spread and there's always an anchor point, right?
Yeah.
As far as the finger. With the whole hammer off idea, I don't have to keep my fingers planted because I just want to get to the top and descend. Let me switch pickups here.
Right.
So I really don't have to stretch. The biggest stretch I have to do is like kind of like that. So, yeah, it's a valid technique, and it's something that there are people out there that I've seen on like amazing players on YouTube and stuff that contend that that's the only true legato technique. Because if you're doing this, you're pulling off, and you're essentially picking a note. It's just softer sounding because your fingers are duller sounding than a pick doing it.
Yeah.
But the actual hammer on or hammer off is probably the softest sound of them all. So there are people that contest that that's the only true legato technique on guitar. So
I'm trying to hear, because on an acoustic guitar, you can probably hear pretty accurately, like how.
yeah, so you can this is no different than this, except where you're doing it on the fretboard, right? If I'm doing this or this, but this, it's just a different sound altogether. There's some more. The attack on it is different. So it's just something to play with. Yep.
I feel like I'd have to like rediscover how to play the guitar if I started doing that.
Yeah, it'd definitely take me like a few months of doing just this.
Yeah. What would be like the benefit other than if you like were trying to do bigger reaches?
I think the biggest benefit is you don't have to stretch as much when going through scales. I can't do it. And then you just get a different tool in your library that's a little bit smoother sounding. Maybe it is smoother sounding. The people I've heard do it, you can tell the difference when they're playing fast and they.
Right.
You know.
Huh, that's interesting. Oh,
Check
right.
out Marshall Harrison. He's like one of the biggest proponents of that on YouTube.
Oh, I know who Marshall Harrison is. Yeah. Next question here. This one is from Catman. Again, have you dropped the 10 a.m. Thursday sessions you had before, and are these 3 p.m. Tuesday sessions only going to be question and answer sessions?
Yes, we have dropped the 10 a.m. sessions because not many people were using them, and it took a lot of effort for us to do it.
Yeah.
It like took 2 hours out of my day where I could either be working on a new series, a new product, or answering emails or whatever the other 1,000 things I have to do. Plus T back there, it would take an hour and a half, 2 hours of his time. So we decided to just scale things back and do live Q&A sessions on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. We will have the occasional live guest out when it pops up, but that takes a lot of time. It takes if we do that, or if I prepare a special live lesson with a topic, graphics, a jam track, it takes me almost 2 days.
Yeah.
To like a day and a half, 2 days to film it and prep it and everything for it. So it's just a way to be a little bit more efficient, but still get to interact with you, this community, and it's a good way to focus on you guys instead of just hitting some random topic that some people might like, some people might not like. This way we can focus on the questions that you have and what you're going through as far as going through the Guitareo library or through Guitar Technique Made Easy or even the guitar system, whichever one you're going through.
Yeah, and just to add on to that too, like one of the big things is, like you mentioned, if we're doing something like sweep picking, there's a lot of guys and gals who maybe aren't interested in learning that technique.
Right.
So they're just not even they're not even showing up and getting anything out of it. So this way, if someone wants to learn about sweep picking technique, they can actually you can ask a really thorough question if you want, send in a thorough question, and we'll address it still in one of these Q&A sessions. But if there's not somebody out there or somebody else who wants to talk about something else, then it allows us to kind of cover everything more often, and then everyone gets something out of it. That's kind of the idea. So. Okay, next question here.
Next.
This one is from Beechnut. Why are your lessons and songs in the G in the key of G when the key of C has no sharps or flats and the first minor pentatonic most learned is A minor?
I would disagree with you. From my experience, I think G is the most common key used on the guitar.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
from my experience.
I was gonna say anecdotally,
but
it's true.
and C major it's good as a baseline because it's the easiest to get into, but it can kind of put you at a disadvantage or cripple if you don't have to think about adjusting notes in a scale to fit a key signature. And G major only has one sharp, so it's a nice kind of entryway to getting into understanding how major scales are built and things like that, and how key signatures work. So that's the reason. I got that from a guitar teacher that I took several lessons with in Houston. One of the most phenomenal players I've ever seen in my life, and I can't find anything out about him now. Can't track him down. Nothing. His name is Greg Brown. I don't know if he's alive. Wow. No idea, but he's incredible.
That's interesting.
And all of his examples started in G for that reason.
I think one of the things that's nice too is like the 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 chords in the key of G are really easy to play, and like they're really close together.
They're all open chords.
Yeah, they're all open chords, super easy. And in C, you have that F major chord, which I think gives people a lot of trouble.
It's a stumbling block
right?
for a lot of people, right? Initially.
So I think that's probably a reason too.
Yeah.
I know a lot of I always talk about how I grew up playing in church and stuff, and one of the things was acoustic guitar players would come in and they would only know like G, C, D, E minor, A minor, and they'd have a capo. And that was it.
They were fine.
And they were totally fine. They could get away with everything because you just move the capo around to whatever key. You can cover any key. Some of them are like capoed at the 9th fret to play in the key of E major or something like that. But it still works. It still works. So that's probably why, I would say. Very easy and accessible. Okay, next question here. This one is from C Drive. Hi guys, so can you tell me why standard tuning is E, A, D, G, B, E rather than E, A, D, G, C, F? The latter would have a fourth between G and the next highest tone in the progression, unlike the former, which has a third. What say you guys?
Open strings for open chords. That's the biggest reason that I've been able to track down over the years for it. So if you, what is it? Would it be that?
Yeah. Well, it's probably so.
So that would be your open G chord. So that's a lot more awkward to make than this. You can even make an A chord because that note on top gives you an A augmented. Let's see, let's do C's not bad.
Okay.
It is a little bit awkward. Let's go through them all. A, B, not worried about that. C, D. That's not too bad.
Yep.
But once you start doing things like you would normally do with this, like hammer-ons and pull-offs for chords, or with an A, then things get really wonky really fast.
It's fun. It's one of those things guitar players I think take for granted. Like we never even really think about it that much. And I bet you it was probably just some guy who was just like, I like this. And then one other guy was like, oh yeah, that probably makes sense, let's follow along with that. And then it just kind of caught on and that was the thing. But you still have guys playing in like open E major, open D major, open G major. I would say that's more common than like, what would you call this? Like an altered tuning? Because it's not a chord technically, right?
Yeah, altered tuning.
C drive, I don't know. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
You can go. Can't let you keep tuning. C drive, I don't know if you have, but I would suggest going through Don Ross's lesson that he did. The live lesson, some of his course stuff I think too, where he talked about like the differences and why you would use like alter tunings and open tunings and those types of things. It's really interesting, even if it's not maybe something you're gonna like super dive into. Like I don't play open tunings other than maybe like dadgad, and I'll dabble in like open D major because it's easy to get into. But like that course is really eye-opening, and it helps you to understand why people use different tunings. He like splits tunings and stuff. It's really interesting.
So watch what happens when I play a A minor pentatonic scale when it's tuned like that. It's a big shift in there, right? And when you like a G major scale is nicer because I don't have to shift up.
Yeah.
But I read about this one time, but it's so long ago that I can't remember. It's just over hundreds of years of guitar and guitar-like instruments. That's what people landed on, and so it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
In general.
It is interesting though.
Yep.
Very interesting. Especially because no other stringed instruments other than like bass guitar are tuned like that, right?
Yeah, because like violin is just the exact opposite. It's these 4 notes, flip it around.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so. Or it's those intervals. So
Interesting.
mandolin is tuned the same as violin, I believe. So
Okay.
consequently, it's really easy to have 4 notes per string on a mandolin or violin because of the way it's tuned. When you get, sorry, like you can. It's really easy to fall right. So you can do 4 notes per string on those instruments, which is really cool.
4 notes per string. I don't even think I've ever heard a guitar player say 4 notes per
well,
string.
like there are a lot of guitar players out there who like base a lot of their playing on 4 notes per string stuff. And then Brett Garza, the guy I was just talking about, he does that, but he has the whole. So like if he's doing that kind of stretch, you don't want to do that. There's no freaking way.
No. But he does. Oh, he does that rolling kind of
Yeah.
motion. Yeah. Well, I do 5 notes per string.
I do 8.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
No, not really.
A follow-up question here from Beechnut. Is there a formula for finger placement on songs and solos? I'm working on the solos in Layla by Clapton and find rock blues songs tricky.
Not really. So, I can't even play it. What key is it in?
I don't know. I just know I can play it anywhere you want.
So it's just pentatonic. Did he mention a song? He mentioned, was it Layla in the question?
Layla.
So on this one, you're probably wondering that or this, right? Pinky or ring finger, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I would say do what works best for you. Like, I was like learned classical, and then from Greg Brown, I learned like use your pinky, right?
Yes.
So, but I do find it generally easier to use my 3rd finger on stuff like that, especially
Okay. Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. Instead of my pinky, I'm more used to it. I have more coordination with my pinky, but I find it easier to execute just like from a strength standpoint with this.
Yeah. That's so funny because I had the opposite background, like where I wasn't trained, like positionally trained or whatever it is. But I always use my pinky instead, even in smaller things, like for power chords.
I use my pinky on power chords.
Okay, you do. Okay, interesting. That's funny. I think it's because of less straining on the hand.
Yeah,
maybe?
that is an uncomfortable stretch for me though, with the 3rd finger there. But I do find it easier to just for speed or whatever.
It's interesting. Yeah.
There's, I guess the 2 schools of thought would be if you're in a position like a minor pentatonic scale, A minor pentatonic, right?
Yep.
You start with your index finger on the root note. Your 2nd finger would get the next fret up, your 3rd finger would get the next fret up, 4th finger would get the next fret up. And as you move through the scale, any note that occurs on any one of those particular frets, that particular finger is designated to play. Right? Mm-hmm. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought is just do what works best for you. I've seen a lot of my favorite players, like when they're doing.
Right.
Like, and that feels weird to me, but like if I were to do that for like, I don't know, a few months, I would probably never go back to using like pinky with.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think that there's like the way. I don't think you can really say this is the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it because I think like people have different hand sizes and they find different things comfortable.
Yeah.
My only thing is like, I would lean on the side of trying to use your pinky because it is nice to be able to have access to it. Maybe not for the really short stuff all the time, but just getting used to using it. Like I would even say like if you're playing like, or,
Yeah.
because you, like that. To me, like the pinky seems like way more logical, especially when you're going to be doing like any stuff that's like that. I don't know. That
Like-
would be my opinion.
Like when you get up higher, the plot thickens though, because then it gets scrunchy, right?
for sure.
So you get it.
That's a good point.
Something like that is way easier to me with these 4 fingers, but I don't do it. I always use my pinky.
Yeah, I would always use my pinky too.
What else?
But I have very narrow fingers. You don't have particularly wide fingers either.
No, it's normal.
It's like average, yeah.
What else was I going to say about this topic? I can't remember. If I think of it, I'll come back to it. Just do whatever's comfortable for you. There have been times where I was recording some like my own music, where I'm like, I cannot play this with my pinky. It's just too fast, and I don't have the strength there. So, like, especially if it's up higher and there's a lot of bending stuff and a lot of notes, then there have been times where I use just these 3 fingers. So
Okay.
just do whatever works for you, man. And oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Classical music or guitar music that's written specifically for guitar, like notation, will sometimes tell you what finger to use on particular notes. It'll just be a little number with a circle in it next to the note. So, is that correct? That's the position number. It'll be just a number next to the note head. One of those two. I forget which one. My mind, it escaped me. But 99% of the time, it won't tell you what finger to use. It's just up to you to figure out what works best for you. And I used to, like, for classical pieces, I used to have just notes. No tab, no finger numbers, no position numbers, nothing. Now I have to go through and write in my own fingerings that I worked out best. And then my teacher, my classical teacher, would sit down with me. He's like, okay, this is good, but try this. Or you got this part optimized or whatever. So it just comes with experience.
Interesting. So. We got one more question here, and then maybe we'll jump into the stuff that you wanted to talk about.
Sure.
Okay. And then we can either end it after that, or if we have more questions come in while you're talking, then we'll answer those. So this one is from Jams. Hi guys, in regards to keys, I practice the 5 patterns of the pentatonic scale up and down the fretboard often. When it comes to the major scale, I have been working with modes. Are the modes of the major scale the same notes as the shapes that enable you to play up and down the fretboard?
I'm not sure what shape you're referring to in the last part of it, but I'll go through and describe some stuff here. So
sure.
Let's say you have, okay, let's go to the key of G major. So let's say you have a G major pentatonic, right? All right, you've been doing that, going up to the next position. Next position. And then you're up an octave higher where you started all 5 major pentatonic scales. Now, if you were to play a G major scale, well, first of all, this is the major chord shape that goes with that major pentatonic scale. Right? Okay, now there is what we call a modal scale or major scale that fits right over that as well. And all it is all the notes in the key of G major. So. There's the 3-note per string version. Here's the other, like, more traditional one. Okay, so I think that's what you're talking about. So there are scales that go with each of the 5 major pentatonic scales that you have. So that's where I would start doing it. And don't make the mistake that I did. Don't just ascend and then descend. Start at the top, too. Right? And then pentatonic arpeggio, right? And those are what I call like performance positions for if you're thinking about chord-based positions like the Cage system, right? So you have your chord, pentatonic scale, major scale. And the cool thing about this is, like, once you know that one position, you already know all the modes or the shape for all the modes for the key of G major, because all you're doing, like if you wanted to play in, let's say D mixolydian, all you have to do is emphasize the D notes. If you want to play C Lydian, then back to G. I had some chromatic things in there, sorry. But yeah, the idea would be to learn this scale shape that goes along with the major pentatonic scale shape that you learned there. And then next major pentatonic. Then the chord that goes along with that. And then the major scale that goes along with that. And the idea is to get to know that so well in any major key that you can start improvising with it and kind of connecting the patterns up and down the fretboard. So the next one up, major pentatonic, here's the chord, still G major, next one. And then the next one. And you could look at it in that regard as being 5 positions. If you're looking at it from like a 3-note per string standpoint, then it gets a little bit trickier because there are technically 7 shapes that you have to learn. But I would say getting just the 5 positions down is a good place to start.
Nice. Cool. That's a very good answer. Well, now I'm going to make you talk some more because we'll move on to the next thing that you were talking about you wanted to go over.
Something that I don't know if you guys know who this guitar player is. His name's Jeff Coleman. He's just crazy, psychotically good guitar player. I go some backstory. I was doing a simple version of this exercise that I'm going to show you for drilling keys, and all I was doing was going through all of the chords and arpeggios in a major key. So if I had a C major chord, or it's in the key of C major, C, then a D minor, then E minor, right? And then what's after? I just lost my place. Lost my completely E, F. So we're on F. So we need F major.
You're outside my realm of normal guitar playing.
Then G major, A minor. Then I don't ever do diminished chords because I'm like, I just don't use them.
Right.
And then back to C. So do the chord and the arpeggio for each one. So D, C major, D minor, E minor, F major 7, or F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and then C major 7. And that's what I would do. I would take my 1 key per week and drill that just so I know like all the locations for the diatonic chords in the key of C. And like the second day of the week, I would move it up and do it in the next position. So I would start here with this C, then A minor, sorry, C, D minor, E minor, F major 7, G7, what's the next, A minor, B, diminished, and then C. And then go to the next position, start on a C of the next one, which will be here, and then do the exact same thing. Jeff Coleman, what he said was I do 1 position, but I go through a 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 progression in whatever key I start on. C major is a good one to start on. And then I go to the next key in the cycle of fifths away, which is from C to a G major, and then do the exact same thing, 3, 6, 2, 5, 1, a G major. Then exact same thing in the cycle of fifths in the key of D major, the 2 sharps, and do the 3, 6, 2, 5, 1 in the key of D major. And he goes through all of the keys, all the major keys, and does that every position. I'm like, holy smokes. And I heard that was years ago that I heard that. I was like, and I avoided it for a long time. I was like, that sounds like a pain in the butt. And it is at first. When you're first starting out, it's very slow and it's like going on a scavenger hunt every time you do it. But once you start to do it, like you can find any chord anywhere, by the time you finish doing it. So you can find C's all over the place. And you can be able to find C's everywhere. Whatever chord it is you're playing over, you can see all the chord tones. So what I ended up doing was taking his idea and putting a little bit more of a fun chord progression to it. If you ever heard the Jackson 5 tune, I Want You Back, in the chorus, there's the progression 6, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1. So it'd be, from the key of C, it'd be, So I was like, I'm picking that because it uses every diatonic chord in the major key, except for the 7, which
it kind of makes sense.
I need to get to it later, but so that's what I've been doing. And I've just been going through every key in one position, pick 1 position, and then start there. And I have this up because I'm going to need to look at it eventually. So I start on the 1 just to kind of give myself a tonal center. So 1, and then start on the 6, A minor, 3, E minor, 4, F major 7, 1, C major 7, 2, D minor 7, and you have to go to the closest chord, like without trying to switch positions, right?
Yeah.
2, and then the 5 is the G7, and then back to the 1. And you can do this with regular major chords or 7th chords. But that's the idea. Do a 6, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 1 progression in C, and then switch to the next key in the cycle of fifths, which is a G, and do the same thing there. So G major 7 to start off. What's the 6th chord in the key of G major? E minor. Then a B minor for the 3, 4, C major 7, G major 7 for the 1, 2, A minor 7, 5, D7, then 1, G major 7. Then go to the next key, and this is where I probably have to look at this. It's because I haven't got to where I know exactly what every chord is in every key yet. But the next key in the cycle of fifths is a D major. So you do a D major 7 for the 1, just to get your tonal center. Then do a 6, which is a B minor 7. 3 is an F sharp minor 7. G major 7 for the 4. Back to a D major 7. 2 is the E minor. 5 is an A7. And back to a D major 7. But you can see if you go through every major key and do this, it's going to take you a long time. At first, you're going to be like 1/6 of C major is what? A minor. Okay, so here's the closest A minor. You may have to learn some new chords to do this. That's okay. Okay, now what's the 3 in the key of C major? Right? You have to look at it and say, oh, okay, it's an E minor. Where's my closest E minor? It's this one. Same thing. Where's my 4 chord is F? Where's the closest F major, 7 or F major? Back to the 1, C. What's the 2? And if you only know like this minor chord, that's fine, use that. Then 5, G, 1. But once you start getting to keys like G flat major, F sharp major, stuff like that, you're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so, and I do that, you can do it with chords, you can do it with arpeggios. There's the 1, and where's, let's see, let's go to the 6. But you start to learn things really quickly. Like once you put in the effort, it takes a couple months to get it going. But once you get the ball rolling, you can do a triads. So there's the 1, 6, 3. Where's the closest? Is the 4. Back to the 1. Then the 2 is what, a D minor, right? D minor. And the 5 is a G major. And you can do that on every string pair. So if you want to do that, that's a C. Where's the 6? Let's see, what's the best place to play this? Let's see, I would probably just do that. 6, and then where's a good E minor? There's an E minor. Then F, where's a good F? Probably do that one, or that one, and then go back to the 1. And the 2 is a D minor, so on this one actually, that's probably the closest D minor on those 3 strings. And then 5, and then back to the 1. But doing stuff like that and going through all the keys is a pain, but like it works on so many things. It works on fretboard memorization, it works on chord shapes, it works on arpeggios if you want to implement it that way, it works on drilling your keys. It's just crazy, man. It takes a lot of effort. And I'll probably be doing this exercise for a couple of more years before I'm like, okay, I feel like I might know this decently. But that PDF is in the downloads for you. All it is all the major keys written out like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, numbered 1 through, I guess 1 through 7, and then the type of chord that goes along with each one. So C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished.
Nice.
And like if that's too much for you at first, just pick 1 key per week.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that intimidates the heck out of me.
No, it did me too. I was like, I finally said, you know what, and the first like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks that I did it, I dedicated like 30 minutes to an hour, 3 or 4 times a week to it, and it took all 30 minutes to an hour to get through it, but it's helping a lot. So.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's nasty.
Okay, well, let's move on to, we're going to quick fire a few questions that were like follow-ups to the questions we already answered, but in the chat here. So, okay, I'll just make sure. So Jams was saying, hi guys, full major scale patterns. And it was in response, we were talking about modes. He was asking full major scale patterns.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. Instead of just blindly memorizing a pattern, to actually memorize where the numbers are. Like I know that's a 7, that's a 1, right? That's the 4. So maybe learn one octave of it at a time and say the numbers of the note names out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's gonna help you a lot because this is movable. It doesn't matter where you do it.
Yeah.
If you know that that's the 5 of whatever major key you're in this case I land on a C right there, then I know I can play a major arpeggio starting from that. But I'm in the key of C major, right? So memorizing where the scale degrees are, and even saying the note names all G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp G, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a good starting point. And then you can throw in the second octave of it if you like. And do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you memorize, hey, there's 2 5s right here. So I can, there's your arpeggio for once you get into arpeggio and stuff, you'll be setting yourself up for a lot of success. But singing along with the major scale was another way to set yourself up for success if you want to attack it from a more playing by ear standpoint.
Right.
So.
Makes sense. Next one here, Beach Nut was asking about the Clapton song. We're talking about using your pinky and stuff like that. And then he was saying, asking, should he be using his pinky for power chords? I would say it totally depends, right?
I use both.
Yeah.
The farther down I go, the more inclined I am to use my pinky, just because the frets are farther away from each other. I would say if I'm up past like the 7th fret, I usually use If I'm down here, if I'm especially around like D or C or B flat, I end up using my pinky a lot.
I find with the pinky too, it makes it a lot easier if you want to like.
I don't think I ever do that.
Really?
No.
Do you do it like this?
Yeah.
I do it like this. Or like obviously like this.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm playing, I do that one all the time.
First time I saw somebody use their pinky for a power chord, it was this. It was in a magazine back when those were used and made. No, this is like it came in my mailbox. I was like, yes. And it was this guitar player named Eva O. This lady, and she was really small, and she started doing like this. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I've never seen that before.
And now you do all your power chords like that.
Like 60% of it.
So then he followed up with, is it difficult to bend with the pinky?
It depends how much you use it. It's not for me because I use a lot, and I use all my other fingers too to push up on the string, right? Now, I will say this, my pinky does get tired, and I was recording another song, and there was a ton of bending in it. Wish I could remember, man, I can't even remember the way the solo goes, or otherwise I'd play it for you, or at least part of it. It was very Jimi Hendrix, though. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even doing the Hey Joe solo that we did that video on. I use my 3rd finger for that because my pinky got tired after a while, and this just gave me, mostly because it gave me more power to do the vibrato at the top.
Totally.
But I do use my pinky all the time.
I find like, out of laziness, I just, whichever finger is there, and then it's like, oh, I'm gonna bend this note. It's like either my pinky or, it's definitely always either my pinky or my ring finger, and then use the other fingers behind it.
If I'm doing a lot of Jimi Hendrix stuff, I tend to use my 3rd finger more.
You were even saying it almost tonally sounds closer to what he did, right?
Like I couldn't get it to sound. I couldn't get it to sound thick enough with the tone I was using on a Strat. With my pinky finger, I think it's because there's more meat on your 3rd finger, and it just gives it a different tone.
Yeah.
So it's good to be able to do both. I would definitely sit there and then do it with your. Just kind of alternate between the two. Then do kind of the same thing as your pinky.
Right.
Like the only reason I don't do that all the time with my 3rd finger is because I find this spread annoying. Like I can hammer on, the hammer-ons are stronger with this finger.
For sure. Yeah.
It's good to be able to do both, I think. So.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Question here from Ivan Reed.
Yeah.
Do you know which scale Portugal the Man uses in Feel It Still? I'm not familiar
I don't
with
know
the
that
song.
tune. I would have to listen to it, and if I do that on the YouTubes, I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, we can't listen to them here. Portugal the Man. Yeah, I don't even. I'm not super familiar with any of their music, honestly.
Yeah, we can listen to it after and get back to you later.
Yeah. I bet you it's the pentatonic scale. But I guess you want to know which.
It's from Portugal. I bet it's
they're not
Phrygian.
They're not a Portuguese. They're not a Portuguese band.
Oh, they're not.
No, it's like an indie band, I think. American indie band.
Cool.
If I remember correctly. Okay, this
I've never
is
even heard of them.
Portugal. Yeah, I have. I'm not super familiar with their music, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But I'm fairly sure they're like an indie band. This is the last question here that I see. So this one is from Jams. Hi guys, are the full major scale patterns the same notes and patterns as the mode patterns? It would seem not.
Yes, they are. So if you're talking about major scale modes, not like harmonic minor or anything like that, this is one of the major scale patterns. It's the 6-1 pattern. I'd say that just because if you're like in the Ionian mode G major, then the lowest root note is on the 6th string, and you play it with your first finger. So. That's probably what you're talking about, something like that. Right? That was the rest of the question? Are they the same as the modal? Okay.
I'll grab it here. Are the notes and patterns, are they the same? Are the full major scale patterns the same notes and patterns as the mode patterns?
Yeah, let me move this up a key just because it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. Let's do A major. So if you have this. Right? The next like position for modes down, it's gonna be the 6-2 major scale pattern because it's the lowest root note is on the 6th string and my second finger is starting on the root note. Now, all from this root note, you can have a pattern that starts with the first finger, second finger, or fourth finger. So the one on the fourth finger would be. And those are all starting on G major. There's just different ways of getting all of those notes in sequence up and down the fretboard, starting on a different finger. So I can play. There's the top note of the 6-1 pattern. So I get almost to the 12th fret, all the way down to the 2nd fret with notes just in the key of A major there. Right. That's the major scale shapes. And you have to kind of shift your paradigm to think about, okay, those are the scale shapes. Those are the only shapes that you need to know, or at least 3 of them. There's 7 of them, right? Now, if you want to think about Dorian, you can think about the same thing. You can think about starting on your pinky. You can think about starting on your middle finger. You can think about starting on your index finger. Right. For all of those. It's the same notes, same shapes. You're just starting, like if I start on my middle finger, I think about my G major shape that started with my first finger. Just emphasize the A. Now if I wanted to do, starting with my pinky, I'm still, like my mind still thinks about this G major scale. I'm just emphasizing the A, right? As soon as I come down to that G, I'm G, like Ionian, right? It's the same shape though. You can either think about it as the 4th finger Dorian shape or the 2nd finger Ionian shape. Same thing if you have the index finger here, and this is where it gets a little tricky, and I hope you follow along with this. The first finger starting Dorian shape for the 6th root note on the low 6th string, right? Is that right there? That is the next modal scale shape up for the next position up for your major scale that will continue up the fretboard. But instead of landing on that low A, I can land on this G, or I can come down to this lowest G. So they're all the same, like the 7 modal shapes. Once you've learned them, you don't have to go through and learn 7 Ionian shapes, 7 Dorian shapes, 7 Lydian shapes. They're all the same shapes.
Yeah.
And they're just groups of notes in keys all the way up and down the fretboard. And as soon as you can start seeing the whole fretboard instead of shapes, like just all the notes in whatever key you're in, like A major, that is kind of the ideal spot because you're not going to be dependent on a shape or anything like that. And somebody who's really good at that is Jacob Wiens.
Right. Yeah.
And he thinks about the actual notes.
Yes, he does.
Which is amazing to me. Like me, like if I have to play, okay, I'm an A Dorian up here, right?
Yeah.
You can think about G major starting right here. There's A, right? Yeah. So I'm just thinking G major shapes. Like it doesn't even matter. Like once you start, it's really weird. It's all the shapes are all very predictable, and no matter where you start, if I start here, I don't care what key I'm in. Major shape, I can go down here. It's the shapes are all connected. So once you start and recognize where you are, then just moving it around and picking which mode you want to emphasize or express is the thing. And I don't do a lot of modal playing, so
no.
I mean I know about it, and sometimes I use it. I use mixed Lydian probably more than anything, or Dorian if it's like I want to be moody.
I mean the most common music that we kind of experience and that most people like resonate most with is like Ionian, Aeolian, like major or minor, very clear one way or the other for the most part.
So that I know that's a lot. Just start with this. Major scale. And just work on getting that down, and then maybe the 6/2 shape, the one right below it. And one thing that's really useful for this is just putting on a drone of one note. So let's say you have a drone of A. You could just play an A note. So I just went through all except for the last of the modes, and I just so modes 1 through 6, and I just use A as the starting point. Played a major scale, A major, then played A Dorian, then A Lydian, Phrygian, Lydian, mixed Lydian, then I left Locrian out. Yeah. I played Aeolian at the end, and that's a really good way to. The other way to look at modes is to look at a major scale, and then start altering notes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Can be a little harder to wrap your brain around that.
Yeah, well, it's the hard part is I think just thinking about both of them at the same time for me, and choosing which one I want to go with it in that particular moment. Yeah. But that's like the two ways to look at modes in the major scale. I'm like, oh, if I do like an A, go from A major to an A Dorian. All I'm doing is thinking about a G major scale. Not really. I'm thinking about a G major scale shape.
Yeah.
Instead of a major shape. But they're all the same shapes. Like, because I know I'm getting really long-winded here, but they're all they are 6-note shapes. String pair shapes like this.
Right.
There's 7 of them. And all they are is glued together.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all they are.
That was a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But like literally that's all they are. And once you understand like they're just connected.
Yeah.
In a very predictable way.
See, I've never viewed them like that, but that's exactly how I play my master fretboard scale, is using those exact things. Those are my points of reference.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and like it's cool because in there in all of those shapes, just try it.
Right.
So for everyone, there is a YouTube video that you should check out. 7 essential.
Yes, 7 essential scale patterns or
Scale
something like
patterns,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good
And
video. It's
all
a
it
little
is
older.
those 7 scale shapes, which are the modal scale shapes, broken down into little tiny 6-note patterns up and down the fretboard.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get those, you'll be like, oh, I see how this fits in together.
Very good. That's it for questions. So should we play out? Do you have something you want to
Let's do some blues.
do? Some blues. All right.